There are many reasons we like strip tillage. You can place fertilizer deep, the row warms up a little more quickly, you have left plenty of residue in between the rows. Strip till is awesome, but the thing is, for a lot of people, they can't get this work done in the fall. So should you do spring strip till, and if so, how do you make that work? I'll just tell you right now, yes, you can certainly do spring strip till, but we want to talk about how it varies, how it's different from fall, and our top tips for success.
No suspense there, Brian. Can you do this? Well, yes, you can. You just gave away the answer right away. Of course you can do spring strip till, but it is different than in the fall. In the fall, a lot of times we'll see growers using a shank, and we'll use a shank in the fall on our farm too, or the deep cog wheel that you can do with the Soil Warrior machine. In the spring, most people are just using Coulters. They don't want to get deep and bring up wet soil.
Yeah, that's really the whole thing. In the fall, you a lot of times have the opportunity to go deep and it's not super wet or cold down there. But in the spring, you say, all right, by the time it is dry, let's call it 6, 8, 10 inches deep, you know what? I should have been planting a week or two earlier. It just simply doesn't work. So in the spring, we're usually talking about strip till going 2 to 4 inches deep, and that's about it.
Now, here's a question too that we get. If you're using Coulters, should I be putting fertilizer in one place or should I mix it throughout that zone? My thoughts on this have changed over the years, and it's been due to a lot of digging that I've done out in fields. I love spreading out the fertility in that strip till zone now, and the reason why is because of what I'm seeing with root growth. When you look at the root system in a 2x2 placement situation, for example, you see a lot of roots right around that 2x2 band, or if a grower was doing 2x2 fertilizer or 4x4 or whatever on each side of the row, you see a lot of growth there, but you don't see as much growth in the middle. When we saw that strip till zone on our farm and on many other farms that I've been on digging, we just see a pretty good root development all the way around. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily going to amount to lots more yield or just significantly better standability, but it sure looks impressive. The plants looked healthy and the growers are pretty happy that we're doing it. So it is something that I like, is spreading that fertility out in the strip till zone.
So our number one piece of advice here is do not delay your planting. If you say, well, the ground is fit to plant, but it's not fit to strip till, that's not going to work. So you have to think about, how can I get that strip tillage done? And that's why we say you're going to want to shallow it up in the spring. 2 to 4 inches deep is about all the deeper you're going to run. Okay, so if you're at 2 to 4 inches deep, to Darren's point, you can't have super concentrated fertilizer right at 2 inches and then put the seed right at 2 inches in that same spot. So you have to be really careful about what you're doing here. Also, you have to look at the type of berm that you are now building. In the fall, there's more time for things to happen between then and spring, but in the spring, you're going to plant maybe even later that same day or the very next day. So you don't want a whole bunch of air pockets. You just want to have a nice firm berm that you are building right in the middle there. Get it stirred up just a little bit. Try to break that residue down, clean that row off, make it a good seed bed for what you're going to plant into, because it's probably going to happen fairly soon.
All right, here's the other thing that goes along with that, doing it in the spring versus in the fall. Now it's even more critical that you hit that zone with your planter just perfectly. You don't want to miss the zone and get off into where you haven't done the tillage. I would say that with the fall applications too, that is important, but with the spring app, it's going to be soft versus firm really quickly, and that's going to change everything with your planter if you get off that zone. So make sure that you're really fussy. Whoever's running that strip till rig better do a great job so you can follow it with your planter.
Well, once again, we do like strip till a lot. It can be used very effectively in the fall and in the spring. Just if you're doing it in the spring, you got to think a little bit differently than if you do in the fall. Probably shallow things up, spread the fertilizer out, and it should work fine.
Well, in reduced till situations, one thing that can be more of a problem is our weed of the week. We'll show you how to stop it coming up next.